What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Bayou Bengals football. So let's get into it. So LSU set to match up with Grambling this week. The big question, or the big excitement for LSU, is Mason Smith coming back. So I like what Brian Kelly, when he was asked about Mason Smith returning, his reaction to it. He said, "I'm giddy to have Mason Smith back," because he understands what this guy's capable of. Guys like Mason Smith don't grow on trees. He's a phenomenal talent, just a beast in the middle, a 6'5.5", 6'6", 315, a guy that can move like that. You just can't put a price on a talent like Mason Smith. So Mason Smith has an opportunity to have a really big, impactful game against, I know, Grambling State, maybe not the opponent they need him the most against, but they certainly need his presence out there, and he's got a chance to really shine and be impactful on this defense. But yeah, as LSU's running game improved, I think, when you're going against an opponent like Grambling, where you should have the edge in the line of scrimmage, this is an opportunity to work on some of the things you need to work on. Can they try to establish the run? Even if it's not early in this game, at some point, can they really establish a running game? Even if it's in the second quarter or the middle of the third quarter, can we at least at some point establish the ability where we can, when we want to, we can really run the ball at an effective level and really put a lot of pressure on the defense in that way. But yeah, hopefully Kyron Lacey cleans up some drops. Can we see some young guys out there? Do some of the young guys get more opportunities? This is a game to really try to continue to evaluate Ashton Stamps, evaluate some of the, just some of the younger guys. Maybe we see Deshaun Womack some more in this game. So Gofu and Swinson, do they continue to shine in this game and play well? I think those are definitely questions, but hopefully those get answered in this game. But yeah, I thought Ogofu and Swinson played pretty well in that game. I thought Mekhi Wingo played really extremely well. I think he just got a little bit tired at the end. So yeah, Mekhi Wingo, he's got to be happy to be out there with Mason Smith. That's it's going to take some pressure off of Mekhi Wingo having to be the utter dominant presence for a multitude of snaps for the whole game. So keep an eye on those guys. But yeah, Grambling 0-1. Hugh Jackson, I didn't realize, is now the coach at Grambling. I had no idea Hugh Jackson was now coaching for Grambling. But yeah, do we see more Josh Williams? Who is the back? Does Trey Bradford start as the running back? Is he the featured guy in the rotation? Do we see how much John Emery not going to be back for this game? It appears like, because Brian Kelly went over some of the guys that are out, and looks like it's just who is it? Goodwin not going to be available at running back, and then one other guy going to be out for this game. But yeah, Bradford got a chance to really make an impact in this football game. So he really did some nice things against Florida State. That was a really nice run he had to really kind of set the tone early and help LSU move the ball in the first quarter or in the first half, where they did have a lead in that game. So keep an eye on Trey Bradford. Bradford really wants to have a nice game and continue to kind of establish himself as that running back one. But yeah, Grambling, I haven't really scouted. I have not scouted at all Grambling's team. At the end of the day, the hope is LSU fixes a lot of the mistakes they made. Hopefully they can play better. They can, and at the end of this game, they can say, we're 1-1. We got a little bit better. We got a little bit better at the very least. We cleaned up a lot of the mistakes we made against Florida State, and we completed. We played hard, and we played our best competitive game for 4 quarters. I think I think this is a game where, whatever the over-under for LSU is, I would bet whatever LSU's favored by, I would bet the over on that game, unless it's ridiculous. Like, I bet LSU wins by probably 45, 50, maybe 50-plus points in this game. I don't think LSU is going to take the pedal off the metal in this game. I think they're really going to try to not necessarily make a statement, but just show that we're going full throttle and we want to see guys compete at a high level for 4 quarters, something they didn't do against Florida State. So that's going to be interesting to watch in this game. Can LSU play a complete 4-quarter game? Does the defense continue to improve? Does the secondary improve? And do they still count on Deuce Chestnut? It was interesting. Brian Kelly yesterday in his press conference said one of the backside quarter wasn't sprinting and hustling. I'm not sure if he was referring to Zay Alexander or Chestnut. But yeah, Chestnut, do they continue to have trust in him to put him out there on an island, to continue to get him snaps? To me, I feel like this is this situation is almost kind of starting to call for Ashton Stamps, just because, to me, I know Keon Coleman is a really good receiver, but to me, if you just can't, there's going to be other good receivers too. And, you want to have your best players out there. That's, to me, I guess that's been my one criticism of Brian Kelly is, not having, if say Stamps, maybe Stamps isn't your best corner. Maybe Caleb Jackson's not your best running back. But in big games like against Florida State, sometimes, those guys can be it's little things like that can be the difference, Now, was Mason Smith being out, or does Caleb Jackson not playing, and does Ashton Stamps not playing a significant amount of snaps? Was that the reason LSU lost? Probably not. But in one of those games where they run into a big heavyweight opponent like Florida State, not having one of those guys out there, that can really hurt, because we look at, in close games, you look at, you look back to 1, 2, 3 plays that could have been made, and if you have, odds are when you get your best 22 guys out there for as many snaps as you can possible without them getting too tired, that puts you in I know I sound Captain Obvious, but that puts you in the best position possible to play at a high level and to get some of those and to win more of those, one of those, that'll give you the slight edge needed in some of those close games. So yeah, keep an eye. Does Caleb Jackson play more of this game? Does Ashton Stamps play more of this game? Andre Sam, hopefully he continues to play well. I thought Andre Sam did some nice things out there. This was a game where you really I was hoping to see him really make some plays, and I thought he did so pretty well. Major Burns, I think Major Burns will continue to play a lot of snaps for him. Maybe they will go with Andre Sam a little bit. It looked like they had Sam, Brooks, and Burns all out there at the same time, but I think that and I think they'll continue to do that this game, but don't be surprised maybe if they do get Andre Sam in there for Burns to play some snaps in replacement for him. But yeah, Major Burns kind of in a tough position against Keon Coleman. That was a tough ask to go one-on-one against that guy. And then I think Malik Neighbors will have a better game. Not that he had a bad game, but he just didn't look as sharp as I thought. Like, to me, Malik Neighbors is a big-time receiver who is going to make a lot of big-time plays in big-time games, but this was just one that, I guess I can't speak for him, but based off of what I saw in that game, that was not his best football game. So, to me, Malik Neighbors, an opportunity. I know it's on a big-time opponent in Grambling, but if he is the believer, if he's the receiver everyone thinks he is, the consensus, one of the top 5 receivers for next year's draft, then you got to believe he will rebound, not be more sharp, not make some of the mistakes as far as slipping on a route and stuff like that. So Malik Neighbors, keep an eye on him in this game. Got to believe he's going to have a showed improvement, compared to last week's performance. But yeah, I just want to say Las Vegas and their prop bet was right on the money. I think he finished with 67 yards receiving. His over and under was like 67.5. So props to Las Vegas. They were about right on the money on that with that set line, or with that prediction, or with that line set, whatever terminology is used to refer to that. But yeah, Malik Neighbors, you know the upside this guy has, and Kyron Lacy. You get to feel Kyron Lacy, if he doesn't drop that pass, would have had a big play touchdown in this game. So hopefully Kyron Lacy can learn from, get better from those drops, and hopefully we can see a big play touchdown from him. Not just once this season, but maybe hopefully a couple times from him. And then Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas had kind of a game I thought he would have, minus the big play. Brian Thomas, I guess, to me, he has showed that he has a little bit more upside than I initially speculated. But is Brian Thomas a guy where you're going to really ask him to, is he going to have maybe 3, 4, 5 more 100-yard games this season? I think that's a tall task for him. But Brian Thomas, the sure-handed route runner, really is just reliable, especially in the short to intermediate routes. That's really going to be Brian Thomas's game. Not necessarily a guy you want to count on consistently to be a big play threat, but a really good, strong wide receiver nonetheless. And then Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor, to me, if that game was closer, I think Mason Taylor would get a little more credit for his performance against Florida State. Mason Taylor, he kind of did his part in that game. When they fell behind, there's only so much he could do. But I feel like when LSU was in the game and then even ahead, I thought Mason Taylor was really performing a lot like the Mason Taylor we saw last year. Giddy open, catching the ball, showing some of that run after the catch ability. So I thought Mason Taylor performed well in this game. I think he's going to want to continue to continue to have a performance like that against Grambling. And I think that, to me, I think of Mason Taylor as one of the guys that would really take that loss to Florida State hard. And just because this guy made such an impact as a freshman, he seems like quite the competitor, especially with his dad being a former NFL guy. I can see him as one of the guys in the locker room that took this game really hard. I could see Jane Daniels taking this really hard. He looked like he was really disappointed in the post game. So keep an eye on Jane Daniels, Mason Taylor, two guys who, to me, I get the vibe that they are really big time competitors, and that losing really bugs them. So watch out for Mason Taylor Grambling, or Mason Taylor and Jade Daniels in this game. I think they take big strides and really play well, and come out with a little bit more of an edge, and I think you'll see them really getting their teammates to try to relish the challenge of coming into another game fresh off a really tough, hard-fought loss. But yeah, Brian Kelly, to me, I guess, to play, not to be too negative here, but to me, to play the Brian Kelly, in regards to Brian Kelly's mindset going into the Florida State game, was his mindset, was his worrying about depth in the back of his mind, did that come back to haunt LSU? Did his, not relishing this challenge really come back to... Now, I've defended Brian Kelly, but I guess we could look at kind of maybe play devil as an advocate for why this game happened the way it did. Brian Kelly, was him doubting his team, especially the way he referenced the issues with depth? Was that kind of indicative of how the LSU team played? Now, I think that, to me, a lot of the media pumping up LSU, talking about how great they are, to me, that may have contributed to this game, because Brian Kelly kind of assumed his team was going to come out in the second half and play well. And to me, once the coaches, once the players don't have the motivation from the coaches pushing them to get up and play, then it becomes, the thoughts start going, well, we're up 3 points. We played pretty well in the first half. Let's just come out and let's play pretty well again, and we'll try to salt this one away by maybe exchanging points, getting a few more stops than them. So I think, LSU, the players kind of coming out really confident in the second half kind of was maybe indicative of the media kind of pumping them up too much, and they kind of just believed that, hey, we're good enough to just kind of to go and head out there in the second half and just, we're good enough to not really go through the motions, but just play well enough, or we're entitled to just go out there and execute enough, and we'll come away with the win. But yeah, Florida State was out for blood, and they really wanted. It's like Chris Fowler said, they really wanted the dagger. They really wanted to put that game out of reach in the with less than 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. And they certainly did that. But yeah, this game is going to be on ESPN Plus. So I have to try to figure out how to stream it. But yeah, I think I can watch it on the ESPN app, but I'm not sure. So yeah, but I think the LSU fans, I think a win. I think you need to still cherish a win if they do get one against Grambling. I keep, you can't, nothing is guaranteed. Even though if LSU does lose to Grambling, that's maybe there is bigger. There is that would be the time to really sound the alarm on this season. But I think a win in this game, you really got to celebrate it because this is an LSU team who, even if they fully collapse, you get the feel they could still beat this team. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, the wins are so hard to come by in the SEC, even though, Florida State's not an SEC team. That was a non-conference game, and Grambling is a non-conference game. That the wins are so hard to come by in the SEC that, just any good performance that gets you in the win column should be a win for that football team, and something that you should not take for granted. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Grambling plays Mason Smith. You get the feel that I wonder what Grambling coaches do talk about in regards to guys like that. Because it's one of those things where, I don't think those teams necessarily try to do anything too special for superstars in the other team because, they're a lot of times they're at such a disadvantage athletically and from a talent standpoint that, trying to take away one guy, you're going to have, multiple other guys that could now have, favorable matchups. So how Grambling chooses to defend Mason Smith will be interesting. To me, I would say to the heck with it. I would probably just double team him. I would probably just try to double team him. I know that is a, it's almost like pick your poison, especially with the way Mekhi Wingo played last week. Because to me, that is the recipe for Mekhi Wingo to feast in this game. Mekhi Wingo or Ogofu or Swinson to feast in this game. But you got to understand that is the that comes with the territory of trying to stop a guy like Mason Smith. So to me, I would try to double team him, or I would double team him every play. And even though that's not going to take him out of the game, it probably is going to limit his effectiveness as a pass rusher. But he is still going to be dominant against the run, even with two guys on him. He's shown that ability to hold his ground against two guys and plug up space. So yeah, keep an eye on how Grambling chooses to defend Mason Smith. I'm sure they're probably just going to try to block him straight up. That's not going to work out very well, but you'd have to tell the Grambling quarterback he's just going to have to get rid of the ball super quickly. So, yeah, watch how that develops, and then, yeah. So, yeah, but yeah, Jaden Daniels. We'll see how he plays in this game. Hopefully, he still throws the ball effectively. But yeah, yeah, LSU. You got to believe that, hopefully after they get this win against Grambling, that they are going to be laser focused and laser locked in to get a win against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is, that's going to be another challenge, and that's going to be, I guess, what the excitement for the Mississippi State game is going to be. Is that where we can get back to playing a 4-quarter game and winning, and then really feeling proud about it, because Mississippi State's not going to be a slouch opponent. Now, I don't want to keep downplaying Grambling, but they're, LSU is, they're going to be Grambling's going to be overmatched against LSU. But yeah, beating Mississippi State, playing a 4-quarter game against Mississippi State, that is the type of win that could really spark momentum moving forward and really get them back into a winning conference record, or get them back on track. But yeah, even as tough as the loss against Florida State is, you get the feel that they have a chance to say they win those 3, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Grambling. Say they win those 4 games in a row. Now you're looking at you're thinking 4-1, and you fix some of the mistakes, and you play high-level football for 4 quarters. Brian Kelly seems more confident. Your team gets more confident as a whole as you get closer to Alabama. Then you're kind of going, once you get to that point, the Florida State game can start to seem like a distant memory. I think that's what hurts so much about, last year they lost. Last year it was a closer game, but the result's still the same. I think what stings, blowout losses sting the most when they're fresh in the mind, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people would agree with that. To me, if that can become, the hope is that game can become a distant memory once you start winning games. And you get the feel that the 4-1, or at that point it would be, but at that point, after beating Grambling, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, at that point, 4-1, you get the feel that's when that game can become a distant memory. A little bit. Now you still remember it a little bit, but that's the thing. LSU, if they win these next 11 straight, if they win these next, technically 12 straight with the SEC. Now it sounds easier, obviously a lot easier said than done. But if they do that, they're in the playoff for sure. But that's the thing, and that goes back to, I had that point where, LSU is going to have, LSU, I most likely thought would be 8-0 or 7-1 heading into Alabama. And that's the thing, 7-1, obviously they can't be 8-0, but if they could be 7-1, that could be crucial, because now they've had that, now they have that loss to Florida State in their mind, and they know Alabama's going to be an opponent like Florida State that's going to just be hard-nosed. They know they won't be able to let up. So with that loss, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, does that loss create a little bit more sense of urgency for LSU, excuse me? Do they, look at that Alabama game like a must-win? Obviously, it was a must-win before that, but are they just a little bit more sharper, and can they play a little bit more faster, because they don't want to feel the same way that they felt after that Florida State loss? So sometimes a loss can help you, but to me, the worry with that loss is sometimes a loss that early in the season can hurt you, because sometimes the best time to lose is like earlier to middle of the season. That way it can kind of refocus you. If you get off to a hot start, then you kind of become maybe and start to think the way LSU was thinking in that game against Florida State, that maybe you are that good and you can kind of just show up, and then that's when you get beat. But yeah, so that's the thing. Hopefully that loss could just refocus LSU for the rest of the season. Now, winning 12 games, easier said than done, like I said. But that type of knowing that you can't lose, that type of urgency, and that can really help you. So I got to wrap at that, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Bayou Bengals Football. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show.